All right. Good morning. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Anthony Hankerson. I work here in our career and professional development office at WGU on the employee relations team. Just a reminder, this session will be recorded. I will be sending it out today or tomorrow along with our questionnaire. So if you could take a few minutes out of your day to fill out that questionnaire in response to your time with the session and information that you have received. That'd be greatly appreciated. If we will be having a question and answer session at the end, so you'll be able to come off of mute if you would like, or if you don't feel comfortable coming off mute, you can drop your questions in the chat and I will ask our presenter those questions at the end of the session. If this is your first time joining our Career Quest, welcome. If not, please let us know how we did with our Career Quest and don't be afraid to come back to our other Career Quest sessions that we have for the rest of the month. The chat will be open after this session, so drop those questions and let us know, and I will pass it off to Claudel and talk about our transitioning service member presentation.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Thank you for having me. Good morning, all. My name is Claudio Daniels. First off, let me thank WGU for allowing me the opportunity to share my experience with you and share my path with you. And also Anthony for reaching out to me to provide my experience. Both of us being being veterans, it's important for us to continue networking and being peers so that we can continue to put this information out to the younger generation so that we can keep moving forward. Like I said before, thank you for joining us today. Good morning. My name is Claudio Daniels. I'm currently a Peace Corps recruiter. I transitioned from the military 6 years ago. I did 30 years in the Navy. Upon transitioning from the military, I took a little time off. I thought I was prepared for the opportunities that was awaiting me. I figured like after 30 years, I was really done with the military. I was like, hey, it's time to move on to the next chapter of my life. And I was like, I'm ready for this. Well, I was not ready for anything that was happening next. Not just the employment part of it, but the mental and physical aspects that come with separating from the service and then transitioning back and being home every day and doing the things that I was not used to. I was used to traveling the world, doing different things, had an awful lot of responsibility. And then all of a sudden the phone stops ringing and you're trying to figure out what happens next. Well, today I'm going to be talking to you about that. I'm going to talk to you about some of the things that I share, and I'm going to go over some invaluable tips that I have drawn from my own personal experiences to help support fellow veterans and prepare them for what's ahead of them in the next couple of years, and also to talk about some of the benefits that we're sometimes too humble to accept or don't have enough knowledge to know that they're out here. So I want to talk to you about that. I know it's a lot of information to cover within an hour time frame. But I put a lot of different resources on this PowerPoint for you to be able to go out and do your own individual research. But I'm also going to be available after this if you ever want to connect with me. Like I said, if you ever want to bridge the gap between your professional experience and what you're doing now and the experience you learned while you were in the service, another way to do that is also talking to me about Peace Corps and looking at our opportunities to be able to continue to serve the world and make the world a better place to be in. So with that being said, I'm going to get into the training. Today's workshop is transitioning from military service. Whether you know it or not, over 200,000 service members leave the service every year. That's an awful lot of veterans returning back to the community. That's an awful lot of individuals going home and making sure that their dependents and everything that they work to earn, that they're reaping the benefits of that. And a lot of times we don't think about benefits until we have to use them. Well, today I'm going to be talking to you about what you need to be doing before you depart the military and what kind of happens after that. So I know, like I said before, it's a lot of information, so please bear with me as I read through some of these slides. And I know sometimes as humans, we only focus our attention span on 1 minute, but like I said, there is some really good information here for you to be able to utilize, and it's going to make your life a lot easier once you start using these different resources. And you don't want to miss out on them, because the more you miss out on these benefits and resources, the less they become available to you and they're changed due to politics or whatever the case may be. So you want to make sure that you're taking advantage of the benefits that you've earned, and also your family reap the benefits of you going out and serving your country and doing something that a lot of individuals don't get the opportunity to take advantage of, and you did it. So first off, thank you for your service. And if you're a dependent, thank you for your service, because you're just as important as a veteran, because we all serve when we join the military, not just the member, but the family members and the future family members that come out of this whole situation. So like I said before, transitioning, there are 200,000 service member transferring to civilian sector annually. Ultimately, transitioning from active duty to veteran status is unlikely to be entirely a smooth sailing. For those leaving service, like I mentioned earlier, we don't think about the physical and mental health disabilities. It can be really tough transitioning from civilian sector when you're not thinking about what that entails. We get so comfortable with our position, and we get comfortable with people around us showing us what we need to, telling us what we need to do, or showing us where we need to go. And a lot of times we complain about those services because they're not always top notch. But what we don't realize is there are services that's being provided for us. And as much as we complain about them, they're being provided. In the civilian sector, those services are not going to come knocking on your door. You have to find them. There's not going to be some crusty Master Chief coming to tell you, hey, you need to check this out, or a first sergeant or whoever it is coming to tell you, hey, you need to go do this, or you need to do this training, or you need to enroll in education. It's not going to be any of that. The real world is really unfair. So you need to understand that in the military, you have structure. When you're going into the civilian sector, there's not a lot of that structure to keep you in place for what you got going on. And it can be really difficult to transition from that because you're not really focused on that. But some of the best assets that you have at managing this change are the ones that you gain from your service. And it's really important that I say this. I wanted to put this in the beginning of the slide, and I should have put it in the back of the slide, because after I talk about this, you're going to remember this is going to be your goal. I mean, your key to getting over transitioning from the military sector to the government side, or the regular civilian sector. You need to make sure that you surround yourself with people that really care about you, because it's going to be just as challenging as starting when you started your service to transition from service. So some of the assets that you have in managing change that I'm going to talk about, like I said, the friends that you made, make sure you do a very good job of connecting with your peers and making sure that you're still involved with them once you transition. Like I mentioned earlier, the phone stops. We get used to getting phone calls, whether they're uncomfortable or not, in the morning when we don't show up to work on time, throughout the day, in the evening when stuff needs to happen the next day. We're getting continuous calls. So when the service is over and you're no longer in the military anymore, those phone calls stop. So what do you do then? What do you do with your time? What do you do with yourself when those phone calls stop coming? And mentally, how do you process that? You gotta get back on the skills that you learned while you were there. How to take things slow, how to plan things well in advance, how to set goals. Those are the things that you got to continue to set your standards on, set the standards at, so that you continue to move forward and not get lost, not knowing what the steps forward are available for you. The disciplines that you mastered, the leadership that you demonstrated, the path of integrity that you choose to walk. All of these are good steps that you need to keep in mind as you're going through, so that it's going to help you transition to the civilian sector a lot easier. Use these assets whenever possible into your transition to civilian life. After all, you've earned them. So don't forget about that. No matter how humble you get, you've earned everything I'm about to talk to you about. Common challenges during readjustment to civilian life. Veterans may find it difficult relating to people who do not know or understand what military personnel have experienced, and many civilians do not know, and of course, they always like to hear our stories, but they don't know what happens during war. They don't know what happens how we process loss, how we move on so fast after loss, because the job has to continue to get done. We're protecting our country. So a lot of us, we're desensitized to a lot of the stuff that happen to us on a daily basis, and we're just filing it in the back of our minds, not focusing on how that affects us moving forward. Reconnecting with family and reestablishing roles in the family. You've been out of the family household. Your significant others and older children have been running a house for you, and they've been taking care of things. And you coming back after you've been working numerous hours per day, and then just now you're at home every day and trying to readjust to that. It's really challenging. Joining and creating a community. When you're moving from a new base or post, the military helps military personnel and families adjust. We have family service centers and things like that available for us. That's not available for us in the civilian sector. So you need to know there are opportunities for you to take advantage of different things like that, but you got to know where to find them. This type of structure is not often automatically in place. When someone separates from the military, like I just said, the veteran and his or her family may need to find ways to join or create a social community. Preparing to enter the workforce. A veteran who has never had to work before. When I joined the military, I joined at 17 years old. It was the first job I ever had. I never did a resume before. I never attended any workshops or anything like that. Never really looked for employment. I just knew from when I was a young individual that I was going to serve our country and I was going to do it in one of our branches of services. I ended up doing that, and I wasn't even thinking about what happened after that because I figured I was going to make it a career. So I never did any resumes. The first time I did a resume, I was transitioning out the Navy 30 years later. So I was behind the power curve already, and didn't get that knowledge early, even though it was provided for us at the transitioning workshop that we done as part of separating from the military. Didn't really pay attention to it because I didn't know what jobs I was going to be looking for. I didn't even know there were two different types of resumes: a private sector resume and a federal resume, which I did a training on last week on this website to try to show you the difference between the both of them. And I had to find that out the hard way. In applying for jobs, veterans will have to determine how to translate his or her military skills and duties to civilian terms and create a resume. I left out a lot of invaluable experience because I didn't understand how to translate it to civilian terminology. And a lot of times what's important, your DD-214 is one of your most important documents you can have. And I know we're trying to get out of the service and move on to the next segment in our life. And then it's things that you cannot rush in this process. The DD-214 cannot be rushed. It's your history of work, your work performance. It can also be used in negotiating for salaries. It can show what field you worked in and break it down for you. It's like you did 19 years in logistics. It's going to make you a more valuable asset. You can't go back and fix that. After you leave and trying to go back and get that corrected, it's like an act of God. So you want to get that done before you leave and make sure that it has key information and they're not missing anything that you should be getting credit for on your DD-214. A veteran may never create a resume. Like I said, I never did. Instead of a resume, the military uses field service record to detail qualifications, trainings, and experience. So you need to go back through and make sure that all your training has been documented, that you have a list of everything, because you want to be able to use this stuff when you're establishing and recreating your first resume. There are plenty of websites out here that offer federal resume workshops for you, and even will do it free for spouses for like the first year. And I put that link on here and I'll cover it at the end so you'll be able to know you're not out there by yourself, and you're going to have people available for you to help you with this process. Returning to a job. There are individuals out here that are veterans that didn't serve full-time and served part-time. So they left their current position and went and served in Afghanistan and some of these other different places and had to return back to that job. Readjusting back to that job if you're deployed is very, very stressful, especially if you leave in a combat zone. And then within 2 or 3 days later, you're back at your desk working, and you may have had peers that passed away or someone that got injured, and you're trying to process all this stuff mentally. It just puts you in a really bad place. And a lot of times we're too, I don't want to say proud, but we are not very good at going to seek help when it's time for us to process our thoughts. And sometimes we don't have the foundation around us to help us process those thoughts. So we hold them in, and that can impact our work performance, and that can impact us mentally as far as how we handle the people around us. And a lot of veterans struggle with this transition when you're coming from military service, because you're coming back to a structure where, you were just mostly around your peers, and now you're around your family and your coworkers, and they don't know how to respond to you when you hear a loud noise, or if something is not planned, it's not structured, and you're trying to keep everything in order because, we've been used to time management and everything. They're not really focused on that. You don't know how many arguments I've had with my significant other or my children or staff members, and I'm like, hey, we need to do this. They like, Claude, slow down. This is not the military. I hear that numerous times. And that's something you're going to have to learn, is how to reacclimate back to the civilian sector, but to actually slow things down to where you can process how people are viewing you and how you're viewing people, so that you can see it's a lot that's going on right now. And you probably need some counseling in order for you to be able to transition back to this lifestyle. You can't hold it all in. At some point, you're going to have to deal with that situation. So it's good to start counseling early so that you can start taking advantage of those situations and acclimating to those situations a little bit better. During this transition back to work, some veterans experience worry and fear about possible job loss. And when you leave your position, you always think that, okay, well, things are moving on, and they are moving on. There are more people gaining certifications and gaining other experiences that's going to put them in a better place than you. But you got to also keep in mind that you're serving a bigger situation. You're serving our country, and you're putting yourself in harm's way for those individuals to be able to sit here and continue to gain that type of experience. You're doing that for them. So also keep that in mind, and don't put so much pressure on yourself when you're trying to reacclimate to the civilian sector. Creating structure. The military provides structure and has a clear chain of command. You know, we might not have always liked our chain of command, but you got to keep in mind that chain of command is structured. You don't really have that in the civilian sector. When you're working in civilian companies, you don't really see your boss all the time. You see your immediate supervisor. So you don't know how to, you've been shown in the military how to navigate chain of command, but the chain of command in the civilian sector is completely different. So there's no open door policies and all this stuff. It's more of a friendship. It's first name basis. It's really a really lax environment that you really need to be prepared to get adjusted to, because you've never been in that lax type of environment. Because when you're in a too much lax environment in the military, people can get hurt. So just keep that in mind. A veteran will have to create his or her own structure and adjust to living in an environment with more ambiguity. It's really important that you understand what I'm saying. You have to create these foundations for you to be able to transition in order for you to have a successful transition. If not, it's going to be very challenging for you. Adjusting to providing basic necessities as far as food, clothing, housing, things that we kind of take for granted. And we tell people all the time, well, I didn't make that much money in the military, but we're not counting the extra benefits, the benefits we got for food, for clothing, for housing, all those different things that we never really thought about. We were getting given to us, and now in the civilian sector they're not provided anymore, which is more challenging because now you have to be able to provide that for your family. In the military, these things are not only provided, but they are often little choice, i.e. you eat determined in times in certain places, duty station, and it determines the way you dress. You don't have no control over that. Given lack of choices while in the military, the vast array of choices in the civilian world can be sometimes overwhelming. What uniform to wear, how to put on a suit, how to tie your tie, what's the length of your dress, what's professional, what's professionalism. All that stuff is stuff that you're going to have to be able to overcome when you're going to the civilian sector. Adjusting to a different pace of life and work. Like I talked about earlier, in the military, you used to getting things done and you used to working until the mission is done. So it was times I was working to 9, 10 o'clock at night and never really bothered me. It was time that my phone was ringing at 4 o'clock in the morning because a person didn't make it to MEPS on time or didn't do something that was supposed to be taking place at the time. So we don't even think about that. But in the civilian sector, that's not how it works. So you're going to have to adjust to their pace. You can't sit up and have your employees working after their set work time. That's not how it works. Once 4 o'clock come, they're off at 4 o'clock. You can't say, well, you didn't get this done, you need to stay here till 5 or 6 o'clock, kind of how they did us. So you need to be prepared for that. Civilian workplaces may be competitive environments as opposed to a collaborative camaraderie thing that we used to do in the military. It's really competitive. People trying to get advanced in their profession. So it's more cutthroat versus in the military where you kind of progress based off of your time in service and the connections you made and how you do on advancement exams or how you've done on your performance evaluations. Those are all factors that determine whether or not you're advanced. In the civilian world, it's just based off of your experience and the qualifications you have. So you have to always keep that in mind. Given the direct nature of your communication in military settings, there may be subtle nuances in conversation in the workplace lingo that are unfamiliar to veterans. So you need to understand that it's a different hierarchy when it comes to the civilian sector. The communication is different. The stuff that we used to talk about as far as getting into the office and talking about what happened, all that stuff happens in the civilian sector. But once work starts, it starts. And then once it's over, it's time to go home. There's nobody sitting around having those additional conversations. So you need to be ready to slow your pace down a little bit, adapt to the environment that you're in, and understand you have to have a patience in this situation. Establishing services. A veteran may have learned how to get a doctor or a dentist, a life insurance, etc. These services were previously provided by the military. Now you have to go out there and do it on your own. And a lot of times we don't know what's available to us. You have TRICARE, you got different versions of TRICARE, you have VA, you have CHAMP VA, you have a lot of different opportunities that can provide medical benefits for you. You just need to know where to go and where to sign up for them. A veteran may also need to navigate the paperwork and process of obtaining benefits and services to the Department of Veteran Affairs. The Department of Veteran Affairs is going to be your biggest challenge that you're facing when you're getting back, because not only do they provide your medical, but they're also going to provide you with your disability rating if you qualify for one. Your disability rating is going to open up more doors when it comes to benefits that you're entitled to. So it's important that you start this process before you get out of the service. That's why your physical is really important when you depart the military, and getting that rating before you leave in the military is really important, so that you know where your benefits are going to come from. And it also is going to help you with determining where you want to reside after you get out of the military, because different states have different benefits based off of your disabilities and based off of your service. So you want to move to where your family is going to reap the benefits of your service, and you're going to gain the most out of those benefits. Some of the states that provide the best benefits to service members transitioning from the military are Florida and Texas. They provide the most benefits when it comes to veterans and their family members, plus disabled veterans get the most benefits out of those two states. There are some other states that follow behind, but the most benefits, you want to do your research, and I have a link on here that's also going to show you how the different states fall out and what states are available, what benefits are available in your state, so you can start taking advantage of those different opportunities. Now, like I said before, you want to kickstart your transition early. You don't want to wait until you're separated to start determining, building your resume, making sure you start accomplishing some of the stuff I'm talking about now. You want to do that while you're still in the military. And if you miss that, I'm going to be able to show you how you can catch up on some of the stuff that you may have missed out on that you should have been preparing for before you separated from the service. So to initiate your transition early, begin by clearly defining career goals that extend beyond your military experience, shaping a trajectory from the offset. So while I know this a lot, but you need to be focusing on that before you leave. What are your goals after service? Do you plan on working? Are you relocating? Do you plan on extending your family more? Do you have kids that's going to start college? All of those things you need to take into consideration before you separate, so that you know how to plan and set the benefits up to be able to accomplish those different things. Take charge of your medical affairs, and your VA claim is really crucial. Your VA claim, whether or not you decide to do it now or do it later on because you have other aspirations and you don't want that to impact your ability to be able to do it, this benefit is one of your most beneficial benefits that you're going to be able to take advantage of. And it's the process that I see most individual veterans have the biggest headache on. And it's also the process where I see the biggest amount of fraud being taken advantage, where people are taking advantage of veterans by charging them for this opportunity to make sure they get the most out of service. You shouldn't be paying another service to provide you with information for you to submit your claim. There are plenty of opportunities where you can visit local veteran service offices to get their support, to figure out how to do these documentations, and all that stuff is free. So you don't have to pay out of pocket. So it's important for you to do your research and get this done before you get out of service. And if you don't, just visit one of your local veteran services offices to go ahead and start filing your claim. You want to make sure you get as much information as possible, no matter how minute it is. You want to make sure your medical record, whether it's counseling, whether it was falling down, whether it was migraine headaches, it's never enough information. You want to make sure that you put everything in your medical record, so that if you decide to file for a claim later on, you don't have to continue going back and forth and proving what's in your medical record, because everything has to be connected to your service while you were in the military. So you want to initiate this early, and you want to make sure that all your documentation is in, and you want to create the relevant websites for you to visit, like eBenefits, va.gov, so you can track the process to make sure that you get what you deserve, because that percentage rate doesn't fall out the way a lot of people think. They think just because I'm 50% rated with sleep apnea and I'm 50% rated for asthma that I'm 100% disabled. That's not true. You need about 200 and some points in order for you to get 100% to be total and disabled. So you need to understand how that percentages work. You need to understand how the VA determines what your disabilities are and how they break down each part of your body to determine which percent you're going to be able to obtain based off of what kind of ailments you have. It's really important that you understand this process, because this is going to be one of the most important things that happen to you when you're transitioning from the military sector to the civilian sector. Get your finances in order. Embarking on transitioning from the military service to civilian life demands meticulous financial planning for a seamless and prosperous journey. Start by defining your cost of living, encompassing housing, utilities, groceries, education, family needs, wardrobe expenses for interviews, and professional appearance. Allocate funds for hobbies, because it's mentally going to put you in a better place if you have hobbies to replace some of the stuff that you were doing while you were in the military. Recreation, fostering a healthy work-life balance, stuff that we talked about being in the military and was never able to take advantage of. Now you're going to be able to try that again as a civilian. Consider health insurance options. And that's all going to be based off of your disability rating, or whether or not you have it or not, or you have to pay copay, or if you're a young dependent and you're trying to get TRICARE adult and all this different stuff that you're paying for, these are still benefits that's available for you. Prepare for medical contingencies by maintaining up-to-date health records and creating an emergency fund, ensuring that financial resilience is a face of unseen expenses, is in the face of unforeseen expenses. One of the things that I realized when I got out is your last paycheck is held until my pay goes through and they determine that you don't have any deductions or anything else that you require to pay. So some individuals may not receive their last paycheck for a month or two after their return. So if you don't have a nest egg or something to lean back on or separating, you're going to be put in a situation where you're not going to have enough income to take care of your family, because that paycheck is going to stop. It's going to be held. You may not be receiving disability pay at that time. You may not have a job because you go on USA Job and it can take you up to a year to get hired for some of these government organizations. Or you go into a civilian sector and you get a job and you realize that, hey, this is not the job. I'm really more experienced in this. I need to be able to get out this position. And it puts you in a position that if you don't manage your finances, you end up taking a job that you know you're going to be leaving anyway because it's not paying enough. And you just end up taking it just to get money coming in to bridge the gap between what you're receiving in the military to how much costly it is to be a civilian in the world today. So keep that in mind. You need to be preparing for that in advance. So make sure you have a financial plan. You get all your debt paid off. You understand what debt to income ratio is. You understand what all this stuff matters, because you're going to be applying for loans and things like that. So you want to make sure you understand how your finances impact that. Forge quality connections. Shift your focus from indiscriminate job applications to prioritizing quality connections. Concentrate on building relationships with military-friendly companies. You can find them online everywhere. Lockheed Martin, some of these other really big corporations are really military-friendly companies. You want to be able to apply for those individual places. Like Peace Corps is another military-friendly company. Adopting a targeted networking approach to establishing meaningful connections within the civilian sector. Specifically, direct your efforts towards companies with veterans and executive leadership roles. Recognizing the value of shared experiences is really important. Once you get into an organization, we always trying to find like-minded individuals. Once you connect with another veteran at that organization, that's going to be your key to learning how the organization run. And a lot of times it's more beneficial if those are supervisors, because now you're networking with them. You have shared experience. They're going to always be communicating with you and saying, hey, this is what happened when I got out. This is how you get to the position I'm in. So if you can find those individuals that have served in the military, that are in the same organization that you're in, that you've applied to work for, then it's only going to benefit you in the long run. Beyond traditional networking, explore opportunities within the Skill Bridge. I know the Skill Bridge thing just started a few years ago. So it's one of those things that you can take advantage of, to where you're working for an organization while you're still in the military as you transition out. A lot of times veterans just use that as a way to leave their organization a little bit earlier. But take advantage of the skill-based training. It's really important. It's a good opportunity for you to start acclimating yourself to the civilian sector, and also get some training behind you for a future job that you may be able to hold in the future. Veteran resource groups, tap into invaluable mentorship offered by seasoned professionals. These resource groups provided by like Dave and some of these other organizations are very vital with helping veterans be able to make that transition to the civilian sector. So it's really important that you reach out to these different organizations because they were established to help us with our transition. Ignite your job search with a targeted resume. If you didn't attend our workshop last week, and hopefully in the next couple months, we'll be able to do another one again. I visited the USA Jobs website and showed you how to break down both sides of it. I showed you the difference between a professional resume, which is only 1 or 2 pages and only is used for you to get an interview, and the difference between a government resume, which is 6 years, it could be 6 to 10 pages long. It can be a lot of different experiences. It's basically your job application with your resume. And it's really important that you know the difference between both, because you're going to have to be able to create both while you're going out there looking for them. Look at different things and removing military jargon and target titles and things like that, and put it into civilian words. I talked a lot about that during the workshop, and you'll be able to visit that like you'll be able to revisit this video after it's done. Proactively bridge skill gaps. While you're in, start thinking about how you can earn different certifications. A seamless transition from military service to civilian job markets hinges on addressing skill gaps as soon as possible. Take a proactive strides and boost your marketability by identifying gaps in education, certifications, and training. A lot of this stuff is free to veterans. You just need to know where to go and what certifications you need. And then think about the civilian sector you're going to be working in, and try to get certifications that's going to help you with establishing that connection as far as what you did in the military and similar work employment in the civilian sector. Whether you was in logistics in the military and you're trying to find a logistics job in the civilian world, you want to make sure that if you need certain certifications, that you have those different types of certifications so that you're really competitive. And a lot of those benefits are going to come from your post 9/11 and your GI Bill benefits. So keep those in mind. There are a lot of ways you can use that versus just going back to college. They're good for trade schools. They're good for certifications. There are a lot of different opportunities. And then you have different programs that you don't even have to use this. There's money out there for veterans, so you don't have to use your post 9/11 or GI Bill to obtain different certifications. You can use them. You can get this type of stuff through the VA and other different websites that I'm going to talk about later. Choose coursework and training that is aligned with the needs with the needs of the civilian job market, harmonizing your education with your career goals, proactively addressing potential skill shortages, positions you has well-equipped candidates in the eyes of civilian employers, enhancing your prospects for gaining suitable employment. So you want to get as much certifications and skills as possible, and you want to make it in line with the career choice that you're planning on doing after you get out of service. So you want to proactively bridge your skills, your skill gaps while you're transitioning. Leverage your LinkedIn and career advancement. Unleash the power of LinkedIn to propel you in transition your military service to your civilian career. Create a LinkedIn account. Take advantage of the access to the premium features and networking. There are jobs on there available. There are other peers that you have been out of contact with that you'll be able to reestablish networking with, that are working for different corporations right now that you'll be able to get insight on before you apply. Utilize LinkedIn as a dynamic tool in your transition arsenal, attracting relevant opportunities to align your skills and experiences. Maximize the potential of this professional platform to open doors and pave the way for a smooth transition into your desired civilian career path. So it's really important that you take advantage of stuff like LinkedIn. Make sure it's extremely professional. It's not a personal website. This is a website that you're just keeping extremely professional and networking with different corporations so that you know what to apply for, and you know what expos are available and coming up within your area, so that you can visit these different types of expos and network with future employers. So embrace opportunities in the government sector. Like I said, USA Jobs is going to be the closest to what you can call military service, because these jobs are government positions. And like I said, it's really hard to get into, but it's probably going to be more close to what you were doing in the military. And also keep in mind, some organizations in the military, in the USA Jobs, would allow you to transfer or buy back some of your military time and use it towards retirement in their organization. So you want to keep that in mind. If you didn't do a full 20 years or 30 years in the military and you only did 4 years or 8 years, you want to go into a government position, you want to be able to make sure that you enter their retirement plan and your military service doesn't fall by the wayside. And some organizations will allow you to be able to buy back that time so that it goes towards your retirement credit for that organization. Emphasize transferable skills acquired through military training. This is where your DD 214 is going to become really important. This is where your resume is going to become really important. That's when valuing yourself and the skills that you've learned in the military is going to come important, because USA Jobs is one of those complicated websites that if you're not paying attention, you'll never get past the first phase, which is getting past the recruiter. So it's really important that you understand how to explore and navigate around this job source. Overcome setbacks with resilience and adaptability. Acknowledge your setbacks and rejections as inherent facets of your transition process, integral to personal and professional development. Cultivate resilience by interpreting setbacks as transformative experiences that contribute to your journey. Recognize unique qualities ingrained in your military background and the adaptable skill sets acquired throughout your service. We've been trained to adapt to any situation. So don't put as much pressure on yourself when you adapt into the civilian sector. Trust me, you're definitely prepared for it. You just need to slow down, look at your resources, and you have to have the patience to be able to accomplish it. But if you didn't prepare before you got out, that patience is going to become challenging, because you're going to be moving from next step to next step at a more expedient process, and you didn't do the things that you were supposed to do when you got out, which is going to challenge it. It's going to make it more challenging as you try to transition. Grow resilient to support systems. Establishing a resilient support system, as I talked about before, having family members and peers, is paramount to you navigating intricate transition process. Relying on unwavering support from friends, family, friends, and veteran resources during these challenging times. Drawing on emotional and practical assistance. Seek guidance from fellow veterans who have successfully traversed similar paths, benefiting from their insights and fostering a sense of camaraderie. Prioritize your overall well-being by remaining mindful of potential physical and mental health changes throughout the transition. Embrace self-care practices. Proactively seek professional help when needed, ensuring that successful and supported journey into your next chapter. If you need help counseling-wise, there's nothing wrong with going out and getting counseling, or just talking to someone about what's going through your head and helping you process those things and helping you process this transition. I think everybody should have some type of counseling when you transition from military service, because of what you've been through and what you've encountered. So as long as that counseling is free for you, you should be taking advantage of it, because it's not only going to help you with when you transition to the civilian world, it's going to help you to reacclimate back to your household and help you readjust with family and friends and loved ones that really care about you, and have you be able to express that versus holding it all in, because we've been used to processing and compartmentalizing everything that we've been through. Relish the unfolding journey. This is a journey like no other. Just like when you signed up for the service, transition back to the civilian service should be just as exciting. Acknowledge the dynamic nature of your career transition as an ongoing and evolving process where adaptability and a positive mindset serve as your greatest ally. Don't get too stressed about finding the right career right out the gate. You may have to go through some different some different job opportunities in order for you to find that right fit. Just take your time and understand that it's a path. And as long as you're setting goals, whether you fail them or accomplish them, just make sure that you continue to set them so that it can continue to grow and you show growth as you're doing it. Nurture a proactive willingness to acquire new skill sets. Always keep an open mind. Start afresh when necessary. If you need to start over, there's nothing wrong with that. Reassess what you're going through. Start over again. Highlighting resilience, flexibility as crucial elements. Immerse yourself in the ethos of continuous learning, recognizing that evolving skill sets contribute significantly to your achievements in the civilian realm. So just keep in mind that, hey, it's going to be a process, and you have to understand what that process is and take your time through it. Make sure you're going through the proper counseling. Make sure you have the proper support systems in place, or it's going to be really challenging. These are some of the benefits that I've talked to you about. As a veteran, you're eligible for all these different types of benefits. I'm not going to go through all of them, but I put the links here so that you'll be able to visit each one of them. Like I said, the most important is your VA disability compensation that impacts your VA medical benefits, whether or not you're paying for your medications or paying for your co-pays and things like that. VA home loan, that's another thing. If you're going out and buying a house, some cases you may qualify for a lower property tax based off of your disability. I know when I was living in New York, I was paying like $16,000 a year for property tax. And then when I moved to Florida, my property tax was removed because of my disability rate. So just think about that. That's a benefit for your family. It's going to save your family some money, and it's available to you as a benefit of your service. Readjustment counseling is free. Education and career counseling, the federal hiring preferences, discounts that we only take advantage of once a year on Veterans Day, that we should be taking advantage of 365 days out of the year because we earned it. State specific benefits, like I talked to you about, being able to see what benefits are available in your local state. Your VA burial benefits. A lot of people didn't know that your wife and you, and sometimes a young child, could be buried at a national cemetery together. So those are all things that when you're trying to figure out your future financial setting, you want to be able to go and do research on these different places, because there are a lot of different benefits that you didn't know that are available to you. They're available by going to these different websites. And also keep in mind fraud. When I first got out and I established my VA benefits, someone went in and had access to my account and changed over my banking information. So you need to be checking it. There's a lot of fraud on veterans in this community because we're not checking it. We got other sources of incomes and we're not thinking about that. And that's how people take advantage of you. They go in and they change those things behind your back because you didn't set up the proper notifications. You want to be able to catch those types of things in advance, because we are going to be hunting for people. Are going to be predators are going to be out here looking to take advantage of you because you have a clean history of work performance and you've been working, you have established credit and all this, and they're going to take advantage of those benefits that you have available for you. So make sure you keep in mind that you have your password set up, you have different notifications sent to you when someone logs into your account, so that you know when something like this is being changed, because you'd be surprised at how many individuals have had their information exposed to the dark net, and people are going in and take advantage of veterans benefits, because a lot of us are older individuals and we're not very good at navigating around computers, and someone else is taking advantage of these individuals and taking their income. These are the resources I have available. These are some of the resources that I have available, but I guarantee you, you can go to any of these resources. They're going to talk to you about everything that I talked about, as far as having people come in house and give you care, as far as if you were a pregnant female that transitioned from from the military and you're using the VA. They'll, based off of your disability, they'll even pay for you when you go through childbirth, any types of medications. These are things that we didn't know were available to us as service members, that and you may not even know that's available to you while you're transitioning. There are a lot of things that's available for you, but you have to be able to go in here and research. You still have to keep your DEERS up to date. You have to make sure you have everything in the system up to date. You want to connect with your local VFWs. Those are also good opportunities for you to connect with other peers, other like-minded individuals that's already transitioned from the military. Those are good opportunities for you to still be involved in your community or to establish yourself within the community. If you want to look at one of the first steps, contacting your local VFW is one of those first steps. You want to go to DFAST, like I said, your first paycheck is going to be held. So you want to be able to go through and make sure you don't have any deductions coming out, or you don't have any pays in arrearage that's going to be coming out, because they're going to hold that check and it's going to slow up your ability to receive your check in a timely manner. Benefits, educational benefits like DEA, that's Dependents Education Assistance. That's $1,488 a month that your spouse or your dependents are going to be receiving while they're enrolled in their education. So that's free money that they're going to be getting while they're enrolled in the school. That's going to help them with additional stuff that they're having to be paid for while they're going to be attending the university they're going to. And then you got state stuff that you also qualify for, that you can look up on a different directory that says state benefits that I have here. So you want to look at that. So all these are different resources that are available. Military One Source is a very good hub to start at, because it lets you know where resources are available and who you can contact. Like I said, thank you for having this opportunity for me to share this information with you. I know it was a lot of information. I know I talked a lot, but you'll be able to slow it down and review everything that I'm talked about here. Just know, thank you for your service, and know that you are cared about, whether you're a veteran or you're dependent. So keep that in mind. There are individuals like me out here that want to see you succeed, and that's available for you to network with. So start doing that now. It's never too early to start. And with that, Hank, I'll turn it back over to you.
All right. Thank you, Claudel, for sharing all your wisdom and your knowledge about the veteran community. If you would like to come off mute and have a question, please raise your hand, or if you'd like to drop your question in the chat, you can do so. We have a few minutes to answer some questions while Claudel is here with us. right. I do have a question, Claudel, that came through email. As far as veteran rating, are you able to contact someone if you haven't applied for your veteran rating and you've been out for 7 years?
Yes, visit the VA.gov website, and then you're going to have instructions for you to follow as far as how to determine what ailments you have and see if they're qualified for you to receive benefits for. And also, it'd be a step by step process for you to sign up for it, to submit your claim. All that stuff is going to be on e-benefits, or it's going to be on va.gov, and you'll be able to go through the whole process. And there are plenty of tools out here that lawyers and stuff have posted to show you about your disability rates and how the different rates are broke down from 10% up to 30% to 50% and 100% and different benefits that come along with it. So there's definitely a lot of opportunity out there for you to find that information.
Very good. All right. And I had a last question that person emailed me in regards to. If you could explain what are some benefits that you weren't aware of once you got out that would be a good tool to check out?
It's a lot. There are a lot of benefits. Like I said, some of the ones that I talked about before is the not paying property tax. That's one. The different nuances in the educational benefits is really stressful. My youngest has just started college, and I was under the impression that her education was going to be paid for, and that's not the case. She's only entitled to DEA, which is only, like I said, $14.88 a month. So, but the benefit to that is I also live in a state that they have a program that pay for public school education, public college education, as long as they go into a public university and you enrolled in this program, because it's on a case by case, first come, first serve. They'll pay for your local in-state tuition, and then that $14.88 will help you pay for your room and board and your meals. So there are a lot of different stuff, and then the stuff that with the VA that I didn't know about, as far as dental and eye vision, stuff that I knew that was available to me that I didn't take advantage of. Because a lot of that stuff is being outsourced. Well, you don't have to go to a VA. You can actually have a local dentist or a local doctor that you're going to, kind of like when we were doing TRICARE. I thought everything you had to go to VA for all that. You don't have to. You can have a local. They're starting to outsource that now. So the actual service is getting better, and you're starting to see the same people over. So there's a lot of different benefits that you can take advantage of. Like I said, if you just reach out to me, I'll be able to share some of the stuff that I had to do, and I'll be able to provide that for you.
Great. All right. I will leave it open for another minute. Any questions, just drop in the chat. Right. Thank you, Claudel, for joining us today. It was a pleasure just hearing all your knowledge and your wisdom about transitioning out of the military and sharing with our veteran community. If you would, please make sure that you fill out your questionnaire. And also, I'll be sending out this recording after the session today. Thank you, everyone, for attending, and join any other career quests that we have for the rest of the month. Thank you.